All right, you sugary little freaks. Short topics of this video for this week. Not really interesting topics either, but you may learn something. I don't know. Look, I can't hit a home run every time with this forms of entertainment. All right, here's one you don't see every day. This is exciting. So this van sat for a long time, and we just put a motor in it. So what's extant in the oil, in the exhaust system, is oil. But well, this looks like the set of the Osmond show. I love this. All right, I'm gonna crank it. We should probably open a door. Always something to learn. I believe this is Canadian. Daytime running lights. I believe that's Canada spec. Because that is, DRLs are a requirement in Canada. That's kind of neat though. I don't know why, but I feel like I've never seen that before. I can show you how to fix this for no money and no time. Very cool. Short but interesting topics. I have a part of me that's short but interesting. Anyway, but that's not the topic. This engine is blown, and it was physically shooting water everywhere. It had water in the oil. It was blowing water. It was terrible. But what's interesting about it is, note the amount of sludge. Like, look at the bearing cap there. The cams are okay in this particular engine, but I mean, it is coated with filthy, and look, it's even the phasers are filthy, and the chain, and the whole Megillah. Now, I don't know if this level of sludge was caused by choices in oil changing, or if actually it was caused by whatever caused the water, the coolant, to circulate in the oil. I mean, I suppose it could be either. I suppose if you baked an engine, you would turn the oil into that. But compare and contrast. Compare with this engine, which is 110,000 miles or something like that. I mean, it's not surgical in there, but it's not sludgy. I suppose you can see the difference. This finish here is because that's sand cast. But I mean, you can look at the bearing caps and you can actually see the T30s that are in the bearing caps, and you can do things. But compared to this, I don't know the mileage on this engine. I assume it's in the couple 300,000 range. Why it's like that? I mean, I would always advise somebody, if you were to use dyno oil or dinosaur oil, meaning non-synthetic, in the wrong weight, and you let it go for a long time and whatever, that's what your guts of your engine would be like. But I mean, look at the head below, how crusty and coated and caked with fun that is. Comparing to here, where you would want to eat off that. I mean, you could have a little picnic down there. Anyway, isn't that interesting? Not really, no. Okay, this will be a fun test with a blurry screen. This is the 2014. It's got the light because it's got a P06DA. This is the conditions under which, this is the data coming off the thing for when it has P06DA. Even at high pressure, it's still at 30 pounds, just like it would be with P06DD. If I rev it up to over 3,000, that's more oil pressure than it would ever need. Where is the oil? Let's see if I can get a trans oil. It says variable valve. Let's look at it at the, it knows, because it knows the timing, it knows what the oil pressure would be at the cams. Engine oil temperature, just for the hell of it. Oil pressure sensor voltage, dual speed oil pump, oil pressure, and oil pressure switch. I wonder if that'll give me a status. So it's going to show me the dual speed is off. If I bring it up, it comes on. So this P06DA is inaccurate. Once you get over 3,000 RPM, it turns on and it boosts pressure, as you can see. Voltage is good. Oil pressure switch is true trans temp. And this oil pressure at the cam should be basically the same as the other one. And they're identical. So does it still have P06DA, or is that just pending? Read the fault code. Active. That's very interesting. I wonder why it would do that. Maybe it's intermittent, or maybe it just felt it once. I don't know, but we're learning. This van is kind of an interesting story. It was offered to me for sale. I passed on it because of the body damage. You can see that it was hit, and then somebody tried to hammer it out from the inside. It's a former expediting van with 350,000 miles on it, and it would still be an expediting van, but the guy put a set of heads on it, and it never ran after that. And I am quite proud to say, smugly, that once we got it here, it was shipped here from Houston for an engine swap. And once we got it here, I diagnosed it in less than 3 minutes. It has been mistimed. I was able to determine that from the information in the computer. It was put together wrong, and one of the banks, the intake on the rear bank, was mistimed, and all 6 valves crashed into the piston. They're all bent, they don't work. The timing is 90 degrees out at the crank, and so on. So rather than try and repair that, which I suppose in a very frugal world, or a world without deadlines, you could repair that problem by replacing that one head, or otherwise doing machine work on that one head. I feel that that's not cost effective, because the fact that the valves crash into the piston is going to cause problems, and the rest of the engine is pretty unknown. For the, engine prices, used engine prices came down a little bit. So for basically $2,000, which is what I might have in machine work on this engine, I can have a very good bulletproofed, upgraded, all ready to go used engine that'll last 400,000 or 500,000 miles. As to the rest of it, the guy that bought it did something very smart that I've been, you can tell it was in the South because of how much tint is on it. But the guy did something that I've been saying for a long time. Find the cheapest van you can find with mechanical problems and invest from there. So I don't want to say what he's got into it. All I can say is that when I'm done, he'll have, and we'll clean it up for him too, aside from that body damage, and there's another big scrape on this side here, aside from the body damage and aside from the number on the odometer, he will have basically a brand new van for slightly less than half of what you would pay for such a device, and a van that has been gone through and tested and bulletproofed and upgraded and all that fun stuff. Because I'm a quasi hillbilly, to me this is the way to go, to find a van with a flaw and repair that flaw and upgrade along the way. Is this an extended? I believe this is an extended, is it? No, this is a normal 159. But when all's said and done, dude's gonna have a perfectly good van with some minor cosmetic damage. I don't know what we'll do about that. That's actually pretty difficult to get out totally to where you'd never see it. But this is the main problem here. As I say, it looks like it was sideswiped or hit and then pounded out from the inside. Not particularly well, but there's things you could do if you didn't care to make it 100 points. You could, it'll be serviceable. This doesn't hurt anything. Doesn't look good. We'll put some paint on it probably. We may try and bash it out. We have a new guy here at the shop who's quite good with body stuff. He's the one doing this one. So I don't know. I don't want to spend the guy's money too much for cosmetics, but we'll see. All right, this could be fun. This is just kind of a sort of a quick tour of your engine with its clothes off. Not sure exactly what I'm trying to express in this video, but you don't often get to see these views. So here we are on the odd cylinder bank, which would be the rear one in your van. And this is nice stuff. As you can see, there's the port for the rear catalytic converter. Notice all those tapped and threaded holes. Those are for various things that go on the engine block, but they aren't for everything that goes on the engine block. And you can tell, because this is not a brand new engine, these two, these two are for the rear axle, or the passenger side axle bearing. This is for the power steering pump, but most of these are unused. They get used for other things in different applications, and that's a smart move. You make one engine block and you fit it to a lot of stuff. By the way, this is your crankshaft position sensor. When it goes bad, or more, it almost never goes bad, but the wiring to it does. The symptoms are fairly easy to interpret from the codes. This is the culprit for your P06DD and P06DA. This is the connector for the solenoid for the oil pump that's in there. These are on the back of the block. As we move around to the bell housing side, you'll see the rear of the head. We've had problems with this. This is a bolt for a little noise suppressor that suppresses noise on the CAN bus system, and if that is unbolted or otherwise flaky, it'll put gibberish into the signal and things will happen. it's hard to see here, but that plate is actually the rear main seal is under there, which almost never goes bad. This particular one is getting a new cylinder head. And this is, so this is what it looks like with the cylinder head off. And what's to know? Locating, coolant passages, the way the coolant flows around the liners, which are cast in when the engine is made. These are cast iron liners, but they're set into the molten block essentially when it's made. Under here is the area where your oil cooler seals leak. It sits on top of there. These two little doohickeys are your knock sensors. They almost never go bad, although sometimes the wiring does. As you can see, the wiring for that and the sensors from the cooler all run out under, and they live in a harsh environment, so they're quasi-armored, for lack of a better term. Make sure your hole stays covered. What else is there to know in here? This is the front side of the block with the timing cover off. Maybe I can get a better shot of this. There we go. So we are redoing the, we're not redoing this, we're just retiming it when we put the new head on. This engine was on the stand, so I took it off, but normally you would never disturb this stuff because there's almost nothing you need to repair ever on a Pentastar that requires taking the front cover off. But if you do, this is what it looks like. You'll notice how clean these are, coolant passages that go to the water pump. These engines just don't, obviously they don't rust, they're aluminum, but they just stay very clean in the cooling system. This small chain down here drives your oil pump from the crankshaft. That's the crank snout. And then these other two are one for your each cylinder head. And the tensioner system, here's the passenger side tensioner, and the driver's side tensioner is behind here, has been removed, but there's not much to see. As you can see, we have the lower oil pan off, which you have to do to get the front cover off. But we're going to make this engine beautiful and perfect. So that's exciting. What else is there to know here in the front? Well, I guess you can see that would be the backside of your water pump. This would be the timing cover itself. This looks like an Iron Man costume, like so. But look how clean everything is in the back, because the Pentastar just doesn't screw up in the ways that other engines do. There's the cylinder head that's going to go on. This is interesting. This is the cylinder head that came off and shows this particular engine's problem. Not exactly sure why that happened, but that's a topic for another video. There's the inside of your oil pan, as you have seen before through the magic of me. Here's your dipstick tube. Again, what's interesting, I suppose, to note here is look how dirty this side of the engine is. And it is because when your oil fill cap on the valve cover would be right there, and you spill oil when you put it in, or when you take the filter out. That's what this oil is that's in the valley. He's cleaned it out mostly as he's building this, but it spills from when you take the oil cap in and out. But as you can see, the oil comes down, blows around a little bit, and dirt sticks to the oil, and that's why your engine is grimy. What else is there to know on this side? These are your various mounts for AC and alternator. AC on the bottom and alternator above it. This is your starter opening that your starter bolts into from this side. And I think we have covered the major excitement that is the Pentastar with its head off, and Boleyn style. Is there anything else to know? I don't think so. All right, keep up the good work, children. And that was that. Exciting. Waste of your time. Well, you may have learned something. I learned nothing. I never learn anything. If I did, I wouldn't be in this business. Promasters Only, Barberton, Ohio. You know the drill. The deets are in the header and the footer in this silly song that's coming up. Love you. Mwah. Bye.